Good evening, Bayern Racing fans, and welcome to the 44th edition of Cageful Throttle. Ed Fahey for Matt Josie. As always, let's introduce two panellists first, and special thanks to James Keane, who, before we introduce him, is trying to get a few things sorted in the background. As always, James.
Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? It wouldn't be a Cageful Throttle podcast if there wasn't some technical gremlins, and this time, one of the biggest companies in the world, Facebook, let us down, but here we go.
Well, I mean, where would you be without Facebook? And then, where would you be without Facebook? That's the way I look at it. And so he has recently celebrated his birthday. He's no longer a child in the eyes of the law. It's Jordan Hollins.
Thank you, Ed. Hello, everyone else. I'm back. After the last two episodes I've had off, I am back, and it feels good to be back.
And we have a special guest panelist for this evening. We have a list of titles for him. His Excellency, Chief Executive, the dear leader, most beloved, Your Majesty, Master of Slaves. It's Matt Josie.
Yes, hello everybody. It's great to be back to quickly overview the second run of the Caged Open. And yeah, it's great to be back.
That's the main thing. You're back. Will you stay? That is the question.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, moving on. Well, 2 weeks ago, we had basically the greatest banger meeting that ever existed. It was the Caged Open. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it due to various reasons, but the rest of us did. And Matt was there. So, Matt, lead away.
Yeah, so kicking things off, I'd like to say a big thank you to all drivers and spectators who came to the second running of the Caged Open for Unlimited and the 800cc National Bangers. We had a great turnout. We beat last year's turnout of 76 bangers overall with just shy of 100 on the day in the pits, I believe, or around 100. So we got our target in the pits. Sadly, they didn't all make it out on track because we had possibly around 93, 94 make the track on the day. So a few cars didn't quite get going, sadly, but it was a fantastic turnout of cars, some cool cars, some old cars, and a great mix of racing and crashing, just like last year's event. And the crowd was absolutely superb. But yeah, I mean, the spectators as well as the drivers, massive thank you to the spectators because the turnout was absolutely huge compared to last year. We was not expecting it. We could easily have had a third catering round on the day because it was quite close to sort of being Heavy Metal Classic or Bonfire Bash, sort of busy in terms of spectators, but it was fantastic. So James and Jordan, you were there as well. Of course, Jordan making your commentary debut, and James as well, sort of being the pundit in the commentary box at Stanley Arena, which was interesting to see. I was in the middle taking photos like I always do. So, you know what, we'll kick off with Jordan. What were your highlights of the day and what did you think of the meeting? And any things that are worth mentioning?
Well, first of all, Matt, I know I said it on Facebook, but, you know, thank you for giving me the opportunity to commentate. It was a learning curve for me, I've got to admit. It may not have been perfect in some people's eyes, but for me, it couldn't have gone any better. It was a great day, full of really good racing, some decent crashing as well, and a massive crowd as well. I think the crowd was the biggest thing on the day that surprised all of us. And it was great to see that not only the drivers were supporting us, but also the National Banger fan base as well. So a massive thank you to everyone who turned up who travelled far and wide for the meeting. I think that's it from me.
Well, absolutely, Jordan.
Just quickly, before James, before I give you your overview of the day, I'd like to quickly add some of the cars that were there on the day. Of course, the real steal had been planned since Heavy Metal Classic. Invited them along to the meeting, and kudos to them because obviously I wanted Bradley Crandon there because he put on a great show at Lincoln Limousine Heavy Metal Classic. So both him and Chadley brought out fresh, very smart limousines, well prepared. Also had their teammates. You had Crash Crandon in a used Mark 10 Jag and 383 in a used Rolls Royce. Quite beefy that was. Other cars in the day, the oldest, rarest car of the day went to the Rover P4 of Team TLC member 284 Justin Roth, which, you know, again, kudos to him because not only was it the oldest, rarest car out there, but it was a lot older than most of the cars out there, like usual Frog Eyes and Mercs and that kind of stuff. So he was brave to go out there. He could have saved it for Heavy Metal Classic, but he came to our meeting, so ever so grateful for that. and he even put in the bumper as well a few times, including taking on National Banger World Champion 327 Mick Maskell Jr. and also a special mention to 325 Wiggles of Team DMB. Them lot did turn up on the day, including Bunny Jr. and Samuel Lewis. They weren't booked in, but a nice surprise that was on the day. They both had fresh, the DMB lot had two fresh, very smart Zephyras last year. This year, there was one for his brother, treble free beach ball, but Wiggles, with the biggest surprise of the day, or the biggest shock, with the homemade Zephyra limo, which was absolutely stunning. I had an idea or inkling this sort of thing was going to happen, and it was an amazing effort. And of course, hopefully next year, hoping to bring it back out again. Bring out something similar, some other wacky idea. So after having a pretty bad opening heat in the Zephyra limo, he took the winning heat number 2, and it lasted right through to the Destruction Derby, and even got off the track after the DD had finished for the unders. So it might make its way out for Heavy Metal Classic, possibly. We never know. And also, in terms of our Caged Open champions this year, of course, last year we had the wins for 7 Aaron Charles in the unders and 364 Nathan Alden in the unlimiteds. This year we had the unlimited classes won by Cameron Bradford, and the unders won by 383. Guys, I've forgotten the name. I feel really bad.
Rory Adams.
Rory Adams. Of Team Real Steel. So who also had the Rolls Royce in the unlimited class. So 2 worthy winners there for our Caged Open champions of 2019.
And those winners, I was going to say, they get to wear the titanium reinforced carbon fibre platinum roof for the year. Stuff to go
through. Do. Yeah, they do. And of course, planning ahead for the 2020 event, it is set for Sunday, the 6th of December. Could well be the same weekend as the UK Open at Ringwood next year, which is a bonus to some spectators or some drivers, even if they've left over from the night before. Hoping it won't clash with the unlimited Nutcracker at Kings Lynn, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But we're already planning next year. Things are going to remain unchanged. Unlimiteds are confirmed. The unders class will probably be, I'm 95% sure, will be 800cc non-Mondeo again. If that was to change, it might be Mondos, but that's very, very unlikely. More than likely, like as we say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So we'll probably keep both classes. And we're going to keep the same format of everything, really. It's just a case of hopefully making the meeting bigger and better for next year. Like a lot of people said in the overall chat, there's plenty of good comments about the meeting, that it could become huge in the future. And it felt huge on the day of the attendance we had, and spectators and drivers. So it's just onwards and upwards, and we can even make it bigger and better next year. But yeah, James, of course, you were there as well, our punditry expert. So let's have your views on there as well.
I'm liking the word expert, Matt, but I'm not sure I can agree with that. If anything, I was there just to give Jordan a little breather in between his excellent commentary as it went on. Of course, Unders Heat 1, Joey looked really strong in his Insignia. Not the fastest car he's put around Stan Lake, but definitely one of the strongest. 27, then raced the win. In Heat 2, that's when it started to pick up a bit, because obviously we had, like you said, the members from DMB. We had Bunny Jr. out there. We had 333 Brad Wixon taking the win. They were putting a few decent shots in, and 703 Whittaker was definitely was there giving some back. In the first unlimited heat, what do you call him, Ed? 260, the champion of all caged.
No, the honorary president for life.
Yeah, so it was nice to see 260 Keith Reynolds taking the win in that. Unlimited Heat 2, then it really started to kick off, because we had 3-for-1 Andrew Jones. Jonesy putting away 455 Rick Finney, and then Rick Finney then gave a head on to 747 Bradders. And then we had Ginge attacked 699 Stacey, which allowed number 3 Mitch Finney to latch on to 699. And then 699 Stacey Holdsworth waved the Silver Boys off the middle where they had been put, because they'd been put on there from crashes. She was limping around in a Jag. She waved them back on, and that earned her a special award, which we'll come on to later. That allowed 146 Wiggy to take the win. Unders Heat 3 was a bit quieter. 720 Kenny Joe won. And unders Heat 4, as we've already mentioned, 325 Wiggles took the win. We also had then Unlimited, the third heat for the Unlimited. Cameron Bradford took one of the wins of the night. And then Unlimited Heat 4 was won. Unlimited Heat 4 was basically then Jonesy again setting about 360, which we saw more of later. That was probably some of the shots of the night. The unders final was won by, as we've said, 383 Rory Adams, and the Unlimited Caged Open was won by 907 Cameron Bradford. Now, do you reckon his Auto Speed Gold Roof or his Caged Open trophy matters more to him? I really hope it's the Caged one. Probably not, but it might be. But in the Unlimited Caged Open, again, we saw Jonesy and Jackstar going at each other. Jonesy put a decent shot on Jack that put him pretty much right on the start line, but with just a bit of his car hanging over the line. Jack obliged massively by doing a full lap and putting a brilliant square-on shot to him from behind. Second in that race was 209 Tom Waller, and third was 260 Keith Reynolds, and that was probably the race of the day for me. I think it was great. We do also have some special awards to come on later, but Jordan, you got anything else to add on those highlights from the meeting?
I think you've just mentioned it yourself. The Unlimited Banger final was truly amazing. I think I said it to you after the race in our discussion that it was probably the race of the season in terms of actual banger racing. There were some great battles throughout the field. Sean Brokenshire and 260 Keith Reynolds. You had Tom Waller coming through the field late on. Keithy was challenging for the lead early on in the race. Nathan Oldham was making good progress until he got spun. But then you also had the wrecking as well, which everyone wants to see. So hats off to all the Unlimited Banger drivers, because I know, speaking from to people, that Unlimiteds aren't an easy car to get around Stand Lake when it's wet and greasy. But a lot of them drivers really proved that you can fly around there. So, like I said, all in all, it was a great day, and it was amazing to make my commentary debut, and hopefully I can do more of it.
Absolutely. We also did give out 11 awards on the day. So the awards for entertainers on the day, we gave it out to both categories. In the unders category, 25 George Loveridge, and in the overs category, it went to 470 Steve Nelson. Both drivers on the day definitely put their cars out there to give a bit of entertainment. And the top car of the day, which had a very special trophy, went to 284 Justin Roth. Any comments on that? Because that car was pretty special.
Yeah, I think Matt said it earlier that, Justin could have took it to Heavy Metal Classic, but he chose not to. He chose to take it to our meeting, and for that, I think we're very grateful, because it took a lot of courage going out there in an old Rover P4, just because he was coming up against Scorpios, Mercs, and a couple of Jags as well. But yeah, them P4s aren't maybe as strong as they used to be.
What engine was he running?
What was that, Ed?
I said, what engine was he running in it? Was it a Pinto or something?
Original, I think. I think it was all original, wasn't it?
I think he kept it original, because I think one thing we have got to mention is that he was working on it in the pits even before the meeting had started, because he had a bit of trouble with it.
He failed on the parade. Yeah, he failed on the parade. I was worried it wouldn't actually see a race, but he actually worked really hard to get that back out.
Yeah, so not only fair play to Justin for bringing the P4, but for also working on the car just to get out there for one or two races, I think, in the end. So, a massive thank you to Justin, and of course all of Team Little Charlies, who are, Wayne Boland as well, putting some very, very good hits. And I believe he got injured in the DD on Sunday as well. So, we'd just like to wish Wayne a speedy recovery.
Yeah, he did. It was nice to see him at least. He was able to walk off the track at the end, but for any injuries, we wish him the best recovery. The rest of the special awards went to 760 Joey Reynolds for his first time going out in the Insignia. 325 Wiggles got one for that limo that I'm sure we've all seen. We had to give one to the whole of Real Steel because otherwise we would have had to give trophies to a couple of them because they definitely brought out some material. Those limos were fantastic. 422 Samuel Lewis got one for some entertainment that he put out there. 572 Paul Scully for caging it, pulling it out and then getting it back out for the final. 244 Bunny Jr. for a very smartly presented car. 699 Stacey Holsworth got a special award because she definitely went against the odds. She was out there, the two silver boys, she was waving them back on, and it was some great banger action all round. And the final special award went to 161 Steve Grant again for presentation. His car looked absolutely fantastic on the day. I'd also like to give our thanks to the team at Stanlake Arena, not only for hosting us on the day, but also they put up a cash prize for all of the 11 of our special awards, which was a bit of a surprise to us, let alone the drivers, which was we're very happy to do that, and hopefully we did something in return by putting some spectators through the door and putting on a good day of action. And I'd just like to thank them for allowing us to put on the show, and can't wait to be back next year.
And just quickly, I'd like to make a comment about before we come off anyway, regarding the support formulas for next year. There were plenty of comments like last year's meeting regarding the amount of support classes. One thing I'd like to put out there is support formulas always be part of the cage meeting. It's always been tradition that at the end of the year, Stanlake meeting is the non-points round for all the other classes on the day, and that will remain the case. However, seeing as this year's meeting was so big in terms of attendance from spectators and drivers alike, next year's event could lose one or two support formulas. And it's not just that, but it's also important to allow for repair time for our national banging drivers. So that's very important. But we could, and I use the word could here, we could lose a few support formulas and gain a new semi-contact junior formula, which the ORCI may or may not like, but we're not going to use the official word for it. So they could be added onto the contact list for next year's Caged Open. But yeah, it's been a fantastic year for Stan Lake in the end, and it's a great way to end the decade at Stan Lake Arena with the second running Caged Open. So once again, thank you to everyone who came along.
And again, I'd personally like to add my thanks to you, Matt. I've been part of the Cage team for about 2 years now. It's our second running. The amount of work you put on behind the scenes to make this a success, I don't think a lot of people see. You're chasing up drivers, trying to promote it wherever you can, and so I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself and the rest of the Cage team. I'm sure Jordan would like to do the same as well for giving us the opportunity to be on the mic in the commentary, in the commentary position in race control. It was a fantastic day, and something I'm definitely going to always look back with a smile.
That's okay. I try my best.
That's good. Well, a second success, so two very successful meetings, one each year. Bring on the next one, is all I'll say. And thank you very much to Matt. Are you hanging around, or are you going to make a very gracious exit?
I'm going to make a go, but it's been good to be back there, and I'll be back soon, hopefully.
Let's hope so. See you in 2020.
Right, see you all. Thank you for coming.
Sure, Matt. Okay, we'll just wait for Matt to jump out the window. There he goes. Anyway, moving on. Bit of news for this week. Unfortunately, Mildenhall has to be cancelled again. That's mainly due to the weather. Was it Sunday or Saturday? It was meant to be happening. 15th, I think.
Yeah, it was Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it was a Sunday.
Unfortunately, the whole track is swamped. Another discussion of a old meeting, new track. Swaffham in East Anglia. The people who own Swaffham they bought most of the rights to Arena Essex, so it turns out they're running the Firecracker. Now, we happen to have the biggest Firecracker fan of them all on cage right now. Jordan, what's your opinion on this one?
Well, first of all, it's great news that Unlimited Bangers are getting a chance at Swaffham because, I've never been myself, but I've heard it's a very, very good track and produces a lot of very good action. I think the Yule Ford Cortina meeting in 2012 is a prime example of that. But having been to having grown up as a Arena Essex boy and having been to plenty of firecrackers over the years, even though I may not have seen the glory days of the meeting, I'm not overly happy is the wrong word, but
impressed.
I don't think it should be called Firecracker. I think I'd rather Firecracker have died with Arena Essex. And I know people saying, yes, you're looking at it that way, but Mendips have the PRI World Final. It's not actually the PRI World Final. It is the ORCI National Banger World Final. So that's the slight difference. And I think that's where people have been getting confused. But, you know, I'm not going to knock the meeting, and I'm certainly not going to slate Swaffham for giving it a go, because it is a very, very, very brave thing to do. And if it can get a decent entry, then who knows? Maybe I'll have to try and persuade my dad, see if we can go and have a little look. But yeah, it's a brave call, and I hope it works out for him.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, Swaffham, great," but you know, Swaffham isn't the track that it was from, say, the mid '90s until 2001, 2002, when Trackstar ran it, of course, because it doesn't have the post and wire now that it was very well known for. Like if you look up Icebreaker 5, Earthshaker in 1999, I mean, at the time, and they still are. I'd say if you ask anyone who's been around bangers a long time, name the best 5 banger meetings you've ever been at in your entire life, I would say Icebreaker 5 in 1998 and Earthshaker in 1999, probably the best meetings ever. I mean, if you look them up on YouTube, you'll see why. But yeah, it's interesting. Like we said, we hope that they make a good effort of it. It might take a year or two to get going properly, but it's just another case of another promoter trying to make a big deal out of one of the final meetings of the year. Like, I mean, there's already a lot of meetings already. It's a case of seeing if it'll fit. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you can't say you didn't try. Speaking of fixtures, again, just been announced today, actually, Civil War 21 is happening on the 12th of January at Hensford. Obviously, we're not going to get into a big North versus South debate tonight anyway. James, you might be marshalling there, or will you be turned into some massive frozen ice sculpture that day?
Well, it'll go one or two ways. I've thrown my hat into the ring if they need me to marshal, but if not, I'm sure I'll be on the West End like last year, arguing with the Wharton boys about who's going to win. But hopefully, again, it'll be another great meeting. It's one of those meetings that is consistently one of the best of the year because of the amount of what's at stake. You hit the car that's not the same colour as you. I've seen a few comments flying around. I think last year the North won it in the pits because a lot of people load up from the South. I've seen Jack Ansell, who's the South captain for micros this year, making it very clear when looking for his micro army, saying that if you expect to load just because you got a bent steering arm, don't even bother putting your name forward. So I think that's been recognised, what's gone on the last couple of years. Obviously, the South did win it 2 years ago, but last year I think it was won in the pit by the North. And I love Civil War. It's one of my favourite events of the year. To me, it's the start of the calendar year for banger racing. Well, literally it is, but it's always it sets the scene for the rest of the year, and I can't wait. I don't know, Jordan, you're 50-50 about whether you're not going to be this year, but I've also seen that you've also given the Wharton boys a little message today as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you mentioned our good friends from Wharton, that I've already began the trash talking for the South. Yeah, last year was a fantastic meeting and probably one of the meetings of the year, I'd say. I think that's got to be a contender for any more awards that we're going to do. So yeah, I'm just hoping this year's much the same, and yeah, it'll be good to see our mates from Wharton again, James, because you know, even before the meeting started last year, you were giving it all a biggin, and you got made to take a picture of them, didn't you, after the meeting, looking all sad?
I did, and to be fair, they were absolute good quality all day, and that's what Civil War is all about. It's people from different tracks, different areas, coming together, and the banter was fantastic all day. There was nothing really harsh or malicious between it. It was just two sets of banger fans having a laugh, supporting their teams, and that's how it should be. And I think that's what makes that event so special. Since you've lost the ORCI teams, you don't often get that sort of group of people together where one set of people support one lot and one set support the other, and have that sort of good-natured ribbing of each other throughout the whole meeting. So I'm looking forward to it again. So if I'm not working, I'll be on the West End.
That's the main thing.
As will I, if I'm there.
Well, let's just hope the weather plays its part. It's been snowed off a couple of times, hasn't it?
Well, no, but it's also been running the snow a couple of times as well. Hensford can be a pretty cold place in the winter, so wrap up warm.
Oh, yeah. I've been there myself, been there, done that in the winter. That's been happening. Of course, the Ringwood UK Open there last weekend. A real blast in the past for the old-timers like me. Actually took the big title in the evening. 3-2 Danny Hunt. I think he won the World Final Wimbledon, was it 1999 or 2000? So he's been around for a while and he still knows how to pedal. Jack Overy became second, so I'm sure Jack didn't mind being beaten by a fellow old-timer. It was one of these meetings, fair enough. The winner wasn't really the main talking point. Again, it was basically what happened all around them. The main talk, of course, was Southwestern-based boys, DWO. We can't really mention what DWO stands for online. But him against their old pals, the Buglers again. And Brett Ellicott turned up with a very, very smart jag, which is a little bit controversial because we discussed this the last time. A lot of people were saying he may have won the Ipswich World Final. Now, we're only saying may because, fair enough, it has been confirmed that Mick Maskell Jr. did win it. But a lot of people felt that Brett Ellicott won it, including Brett. So he turned up with an interesting jag, painted solidly gold, reference on the number 1 of his race, number 162. Jordan, you want to say about that, or do you think just, is he bitter, or is he can do it because he can?
Oh, you've really dropped me in it there, Red.
I have.
Yeah, I know that we were talking before we come online about this, just me and you.
Yeah.
Look, one thing I'm going to say just quickly before I give an answer on this is that the whole situation isn't fair on either driver. It isn't fair on Speedworth either, to be honest. I know that a lot of people have differing opinions of it, but it's been over 2 months now since the World Final, and to be honest, I can't believe people are still going on about it. I know it's our showpiece event of the calendar year, and the result should be right, but Speedworth have reviewed it. They've checked back all the lap scores. They've given it to Mick Maskell Jr. That, for me, is the end of it. In Formula One, you don't get given a time penalty in the German Grand Prix, and then by the time they get to Brazil, you're still trying to contest that penalty you got back in Germany or whatever. So, for me, fair play to Brett for doing it. The car looks lovely and he put it to good use, and Brett is a very, very good driver and I highly, highly respect him, both as a banger driver and as, one of the sport's greatest. But it took a lot of courage to do it, and that's all I'm going to say. Maybe Mick, I think, in my opinion, it's a little bit unfair on Mick to keep on doing this and to keep on bringing it up. We should just let him enjoy being world champion and respect that he is our world champion, because he's one of the brightest young drivers, I think, we have in national banger racing at the moment. And, he put in a lot of hard work and dedication last year doing the Banger World Series rounds. And he wasn't just rodding either. I think he finished 6th or 7th in the BWS Entertainers League. So, and he finished 5th or 6th in the actual world qualifying points chart. So he literally done the best of both worlds and got some really good results along the way, and also put in some decent hits and turned out some lovely cars as well. So let's not be so bitter to Mick, and let's also not be so bitter to Brett. I think it's about time we put it all behind us and let the guys do their thing, because they are two very, very, very good national banger drivers.
I think you said that perfectly there, Jordan. Absolutely. I hope
everyone who's tuned in from Oval Chat is listening to that. Okay, just leave it. Brett Ellicott's very good. Mick Maskell's very good. Leave it there. There's always next year. That's all we can say. Sorry, James. Did I cut across you there?
No, it's fine. No, I was just saying. I think Jordan said that perfectly. Mick Maskell drove an amazing thing on the day, and this does happen sometimes in sport. Sometimes officials, the way that they record things are different to what people see, and that does happen. I mean, it's not like, you look at the state of football at the moment, it's not like adding video officials always helps. And then, well, look at Thierry Henry in Ireland a few years ago in football, is that you didn't expect France not to turn up to the World Cup just because the officials got it wrong on the night. I don't
Still
think
a very sore point, would you believe?
Oh, sorry, Eddie, you Irish? You could never tell.
Yeah, well, I never guessed you were Irish roots, James. Your name on Facebook translates.
Yeah, I know. I am half Irish, so that's still half it. No, but
is that the good half or the bad half? Ho, ho, ho.
Well, that's left up for discussion. So I think it's just Mick Maskell did not ask to be put in this position, but he was named champion. And although, even at the same point, from the cheeky point of view, you made the comment earlier about you can't say on air what DWA stands for. If anyone saw his bonnet about what he put DWA stood for that night, I think that gave everyone a bit of a chuckle.
Well, let's say in a way the JAG has worked because we're talking about it right now. So he's created a talking point.
Brett Ellicott is one of the exactly. Brett Ellicott is one of the best drivers in the country and would have been a deserving winner. He's not the world champion at the moment, and that's all you can really say. But he would have been a deserving world champion, and it keeps people talking about it and keeps interest in the sport. And a little bit of controversy never really hurt anyone.
No, what can we say? But moving on a bit further, Jane, you were at another Eastbourne Micros meeting, another very entertaining session, I understand.
Yeah, it was a good meeting. Micro Madness, of course, it's a meeting that is. This is the meeting that would have been the Wimbledon one, and the last Wimbledon one had over 130 cars, I believe, and put on a great thing. Last year, the last 2 years of Eastbourne have also put on big numbers. This one didn't quite have the big numbers, but did have some big entertainment throughout. So we started off. So the first thing we should say is that one of the Cecil's Renter rookie drivers, number 18, did in the first heat break some ribs and I believe got an injury to his lungs, but he has
blood on the lung, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so Jordan, you've seen that. So he did come out and then say he is okay, but he didn't feel bad. But so I was on the pit gate that night and he gave me a thumbs up and it did look like a hard hit, but then afterwards it does seem that it was a bit hurt, but he is still okay. He got out of the car and has hopefully been able to get back to work.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, I understand he hadn't raced before he was making his debut, wasn't he?
No, it was his first time, exactly. It was his first time. And then for the rest of it, what we had was Heat 1 was won by 194 Steve Anscombe. Obviously, you're not going to have a Eastbourne Micro event without Steve and Jack turning up there. A lot of the night was spent between them and 84 Jack Ansell, having a bit of back and forth throughout the night. But then Heat 2 was won by 294 Lee Hughes, and the final was won by 27 Dale Hughes, and followed home by 294 Lee Hughes. So it's always quite good to see names like that winning the races. And then 570 Jordan Cumming, Dino Jr. as well, put on a great show all night, as did 204 Charlie King, who took second in the first race and fourth in the final. All around, it was actually a really good night of racing because every heat ended up all in. Obviously, with only 40 or so bangers turning up, it had to go all in, which meant it was pretty good action all the way through. I just don't know, maybe our Micro Madness is being a bit over-marketed now. I mean, like I said, the last Wimbledon one was fantastic. There's another Micro Madness at Eastbourne in the early year next year. It's always easy to... I say this, I'm not a banger builder, but it seems that it's probably easier for a banger builder to throw together a micro banger than it is to throw together a full unlimited banger. Have we reached saturation point for national micro bangers at the moment?
Well, I think it's like a lot of scenarios. The promoter would say to the drivers at some stage, what would you like? It's the reason why there's not a all Granada meeting every 2 weeks. It's the reason there's loads of micro meetings. Obviously, the Mondale meetings are kind of calmed down a bit. The supply and demand, I don't know. It's basically a case that the promoter needs to decide what they want to run. If the drivers support it, great. If they don't, we just won't have one again, or we'll leave it for an annual meeting as opposed to every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing. It's just one of those brand names of bangers, isn't it? It's like, do you keep carrying on those Wimbledon winter fixtures, or maybe sort of concentrate them a bit? I think as well, in the same way that we were wondering with the cage meeting, moving it from a different weekend to the UK Open, would that have affected things? This was run the same night as the UK Open, which of course you're going to get a lot of national banger drivers choose to be racing there as well. So that probably did have an effect as well.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's always the case of you need the drivers to support meetings as well as you need the promoter to promote the right meetings. Basically, it's not really something we need to discuss just the way it is. We need to go along with it because obviously there's a few decisions to be made. There's obviously money to be made or lost on this because, I mean, just look at all the changes that are happening lately. We all need to adapt. But let's see now. In the next on my news list, we discussed it a little bit earlier in the year, Manson Raceway. It doesn't look like it's going to happen now. It was talk of an old track reopening, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's happening. Jordan, you're the correspondent for that area. Have you heard anything more? It's just a case of it's not going to happen.
Well, from my understanding and from what I've heard, the planning application has failed because I believe the circuit was due to open in 2020, actually. But yeah, the planning application has failed, so it's not going ahead at the moment. But I believe they were only missing a small bit of information, or they didn't get a piece of information from somebody that they required. So I believe they're going to get that bit of information, put it onto their formal survey. I don't know what it is, and then go through the process again. So touch wood, this isn't the end of Manston Raceway before it's already begun. It's just a small blockage in the road. And hopefully we can bring you some more positive news on it because, with everything that's been going on recently, Stoke going this season, and I believe the next hearing for Bellevue is going to be happening sometime next week or next month as well. So we could possibly be losing 2 tracks. So it'll be good to get another one in sometime in the near future because the sport's been through a really rough patch over the last few years, and I think everyone could do with some cheering up.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what's good. Well, speaking of cheering up, let's end the news on good news. Actually, it's not really news as such. It's just something amazing that we need to discuss. We talk about him a lot. 760, Joey Reynolds, son, of course, of our honorary president for life, Keith Reynolds. He's raced a lot this year. He's raced an awful lot. He's raced 86 meetings this year. Now, consider there's only 52 weeks in the year. He's done 86. He's raced at 86 different meetings, which means he's only 3 meetings away from equaling the all-time record, which was set by Terry Harris in 1992, which is 89 meetings. Now, no disrespect to Terry's record at all. He basically lived fairly local to all the tracks that he raced at, whereas Joey has been, I'd say, nearly every major track in Britain, Ireland, and in Belgium and Holland. He's been there. He only needs to do 3 more meetings, and he equals 89 meetings in a year. And it looks like he's on track to do that. He's actually racing in Agadooey over here on Boxing Day, and then he's heading up to Barford. I think it's the 29th to the 30th. James, have you anything to say about this at all, or just can we leave it there and it's awesomeness?
Well, as someone who mainly works down at Aldershot, I've got to say that the amount of dedication Joey has shown throughout the year has been fantastic. You've mentioned Barford. At the moment, there is a risk that meeting might be cancelled, so anyone who might be able to attend that meeting with a car to be built, I mean, well, not only for Joey, but for the sport in general, please go down. But I suppose my memory for his season would be when I was working and he turned up. He just landed from Ibiza at 5. He went back to his yard. He put a cage in a car, turned up, painted on the back from Ibiza to Aldershot, and turned out for that meeting, and then put on a show for the people. I mean, I speak to Joey a lot. Is fantastically dedicated to the sport. I know some people might occasionally throw some criticism his way because the amount of races he wins, but anyone that wants to throw that many bangers together in a year and go out and race has got my support. So yeah, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, the fact that he came over to Shamrock and he won, and then he was away the next week. I mean, you're allowed to win in these circumstances. Obviously, with the prize money, the amount of effort required, you need something to take out of it. Jordan, anything at all to add to that one, or just have we said it all?
No, not really. I think James hit the nail on the head. Joey's been exceptionally dedicated this year, not just with the amount of meetings he's done, but the amount of travelling as well. I know you've just mentioned, Ed, that he's planning to go to Agadooey on a Boxing Day.
Yeah.
and obviously Barford just a few days later. But, he's been up to Lochgelly a few times. He's gone over to Ireland and Northern Ireland to race. He's followed the back to basics everywhere, to Arlington, Yarmouth, Aldershot. And he's also done quite a lot of the national banger meetings as well this year. So, yeah, fair play to Joey, because there's a lot of people that slate him a little bit for the amount he wins and stuff. But, nah, that is not fair in my book, because the man has put in incredible amounts of dedication this year and deserves a lot of credit for it.
So like you're saying, John, a few weeks ago at Eastbourne, he won the first race and had to start the next two at the back in fields of 40 cars, and still won and took the hat trick on the night. So the boy can race. Again, I took the piss. Well, sorry, can't use that word on this podcast. I took the Mickey out.
That's the first time I've ever sworn live on air. It was James. That was James, everyone.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm the producer. I can edit that out from the non-live versions of this. I took the Mickey out of him because he did reverse over the line, but you can't dispute the man can drive around, especially the southern tracks. He's put so much into Aldershot over the course of the year, and again, to him and pretty much all of the Reynolds boys, thank you so much for everything you've done.
That's fine. I mean, his brother Jack does the crash and he does the racing. It's good because they can both crash and race when they want to.
Well, you say that,
So,
you say that, but then of course it was on the last wild card. It was Joey that went to put Boxer in. The red flags meant that the position wasn't lost, and then Joey did then put the first follow in of the cage meeting. So Joey does know how to have a crash.
that's what's good. I mean, the fact that he races is enough for us. It's not easy, and the amount of not easy, especially these days. The amount of dedication he puts in, we just can't fault it. I mean, there's genuinely nothing you can knock about this guy at all. And fair play to him, as you would say here. Hopefully, he can. If he doesn't do it this year, he does it next year. Because I think there's one record. I think if he breaks the 89 barrier, it's going to be extremely difficult to do even more than that.
See, I do wonder though, with the record, is it not, even if he does equal it, is it not slightly more impressive with the way bangers are these days, with the amount of cars he's had to build? I think it must be. I mean, the amount of cars he's had to build for different categories. He's very rarely out in a used car. He's built a lot of cars for back to basics from pretty much fresh. I think he's probably spent more time in a yard than anyone in history, I think, at this point.
Oh, very much so. I mean, back in 1992, it was the case you probably still could get Granadas on the key, you could get Cortinas on the key. In pretty much every class, you could probably still find a car that ran. It wasn't like nowadays where you basically have to rebuild the entire car, previous aside, before you even think about putting the roll cage and plates and all that in. And I mean, obviously the cars weren't as rusty back then either, although I'd say his dad would probably argue with that one. But yeah, no, it's something that we just can't fault at all, and we wish him the very best. But moving on, we've had our caged awards going for the last little while, so now we have the results. So I'd like to ask James to take it away.
So, ladies and gentlemen, of course, everyone today has been at the polls, but there is only one set of results everyone probably cares about, and that is the Caged Awards 2019, and we've got the results for you here. We're going to start off with the big one, Driver of the Year. Previous winners, Lauren Annetts and Carl Jack Overy, but this year a bit of a surprise because it comes from the mainland of Europe. Number 56, Carol Eclue, better known to most people as Vinky, has taken the award. A lot of votes came in from the Camzo lot, and, well, I suppose that can only be because he's had such a great year. I mean, I personally haven't had a great chance to see him this year. Second, Steve Bolton, and third, Charlie King, were very close in the votes as well. Guys, I'm going to hand over to you here. Have you seen much of Vinky this year?
I can't say I have, unfortunately, but like most of the Continental guys, he very dedicated, does his racing, gets the material out. Again, anyone who puts the effort in is to be very much commended.
Yeah, a bit like Ed was saying, really. I haven't had many opportunities to see him race this year. Obviously, he is from Camzo and races a lot at the Wharton Speedway in Belgium. But what I will say about Vinky is, having seen him race in previous years at meetings, he is one seriously quick driver. And like Ed said, he can pull out some lovely material as well. Paint the cars superbly, races for Team United as well. And he can hit as well. He's a great crasher when he wants to be. He's a former winner of the BBA World Cup and the BBA European. And dare I say, if there was to be a winner from mainland Europe of the Unlimited Banger World Final, it could be 56 Vinky.
So taking from there, in second place was Steve Bolton. You've probably seen him more than we have, Ed, over the year. Steve Bolton, obviously a former champion of the world. How has his season been?
Very committed again. He kind of moved away from Team Buckle at the start of the year. He's has his own team now, between TGB, Team Grey and Blue. Again, he's just been very committed. Had the same level of commitment as he had even when he had the gold roof. Get out there, race. He's done off at the B2Bs. He's done most of the big meetings as well. He's not had much luck again, but it's just the way it goes. But again, can't fault the guy. Can't fault the level of commitment that he's put into it. Everyone's a winner, really, in some of these circumstances.
And then not far behind Steve Bolton, third was 204 Charlie King. And probably in the same way that Jack Overy got a lot of votes on the basis of the World Final the year before. Again, so unlucky not to take the World Final. If it wasn't for technical issues, we could be saying Charlie King, Driver of the Year, and also Champion of the World. It's just been a fantastic season for him. He's done great. He actually comes up again in later categories, so I won't say too much now. I will also say that was also very close between the top three. Fourth was 162 Bad Boy Brett Ellicott. We've already spoke about him a lot. And fifth was 760 Joey Reynolds, who also, again, we've just spoke about quite a lot. So I think that is a very, very deserving top of that leaderboard. So congratulations to everyone involved, and thank you to everyone who voted. The next category, Most Improved Driver. The winner was 281 Lewis Tingle, who took pretty much probably the highest majority of the votes, actually. He was, in terms of all of the voting categories, he was probably the one that's furthest ahead than anyone else. Second was Sean Brokenshire, and third was 204 Charlie King. So, guys, over to you. Any comments on 281 Lewis Tingle's season?
Lewis is a member of the Silver Boys, who have spent the majority of the season warring with Stacey and Oris. But also Lewis qualified for his first ever World Final. He's a former winner of the Scunthorpe 1800cc Rookie Banger World Final as well, so he can definitely race. Yeah, and he's come on a lot over the last 12 months, and he's still very young as well. He's got a lot more to learn, and I think in the future he could definitely be a future world champion. He is that sort of driver.
So the next category we move on to is Entertainer of the Year. That was taken by 777 Arian Vorkink, who took it by pretty much double the amount of votes from second place, which was 211 Jamie Pole of the Barton Boys. And in joint third was 341 Andrew Jones and 360 Jackstar Jack Reynolds. Again, I probably haven't seen the first place as much as a lot of people have, but the amount of votes that came in with the reasons for it, very deservedly. Jamie Pole pretty much started off this voting season with one of the best followings I've ever seen. And then, again, we saw at the Caged Open, Jackstar and Jonesy showing exactly why they are fantastic entertainers.
So it goes usually when you see Jonesy or Jackstar in the pitch, right, one, that car's not going to go home straight, but two, many other cars, is he going to leave looking like his one by the end of the meeting? So, again, the commitment those two guys have in particular is amazing. Like, nearly always bring out a straight car, and they're not afraid to use it either.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say about Arian Vorkink as well, member of Team Hammer Time. He's another one that certainly knows how to cause a lot of damage. And a bit like what Ed was saying with Jonesy and Jackstar, when you see him turn up in the pits, you know that he's going to be in the thick of the action and he isn't going to take that car home straight. Jamie Pole's another driver, a bit like Lewis Tingle. He's come on a lot over the last 12 months. As James said, he put in that superb following in on 25 Joe Parsons at last year's Champion of Champions meeting. And he won the inaugural BWS Entertainers League. So, well done to all them 4 drivers. And hopefully we'll see plenty more of them in 2020.
Thank you, Jordan. Going on to our next category, that's for Breakthrough Driver. This is probably one of the most voted for categories, and it's reflected by how close the votes were in total. First place driver was 478 Craig Royal with 24.2% of the votes, and in second place was 721 Sambor with 23.2% of the votes, and they were quite far away from the rest of the pack. So, I mean, again, it's another couple of drivers that I probably haven't had the pleasure of seeing in these. So I'm going to hand over to you guys if you've got any comments on here.
I don't know, Reg, do you want to start off on this one?
Not really, because I mean, it's obviously a case of who's the most improved. But no, I mean, judging from what I've been presenting, Cage, you hear these 3 names being mentioned a lot. So that's the main thing, really. They're getting out there. They're not being dissuaded by, say, being put into first car and all that. So they just keep coming back. So I mean, that's something, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Craig Royal is a very good driver. Again, he's come a lot over the last 12 months. He's a driver that isn't afraid to get stuck in, and he can be very quick on his day as well when I challenge the top boys. I believe he's based more up north as well, and races a lot for the Northern Army in the micro division at Civil War. So, only a couple of weeks till that meeting now. So hopefully we'll see him in the Northern Army lineup.
Thank you, Jordan. Moving on to the next category, it's probably one of the most controversial categories we have, but it's for the Team of the Year. It was taken by the Silver Boys. They had 29.2% of the votes, followed by the Barton Boys with 19.1%, followed by Team Driving with 14.6%. So, we spoke about the Silver Boys earlier. They've had another good season. They've been everywhere. We spoke earlier about them going out to the Caged Open with Stacey. They've had a good season. Mitch and Ricky have been pretty much everywhere you can see them. They've always put on a bit of a show. So, Jordan, any thoughts?
Well, the Silver Boys have been very good, and so have the Barton Boys as well. I spoke about Jamie just now, but obviously you've got the likes of James Rushton, Sean Rushton, Tom Jordan in there as well. Am I missing anyone? I think Lenny Smith has occasionally raced for them. They've just got such a strong team, and they've really nailed it this year in terms of travelling and commitment, and in terms of wrecking as well. Sean's been around for a while. I think he won in-car races DD series a few years ago, or won the World DD Championship or whatever it was called. So that just goes to show you how much of a good wrecker he is, but also how good he is at keeping a car going, which I guess is testament to how well prepared they are.
Thank you, Jordan. Moving on to the next category, dedicated driver. Again, it's shown the amount of continental votes that we've had, which is great to see. The winner was 211 Dennis Vorkink, followed by second 760 Joey Reynolds, and third 360 Jack Reynolds. Again, I can't really say too much about the winner because I've not got to see him as much, but the amount of votes coming in just shows how dedicated he must have been to have that many votes come in. But the Reynolds boys coming in second and third again show the amount of dedication that family puts into banger racing.
Yeah, certainly. I think we said earlier, Joey, in terms of back to basics and national bangers, and as well Jack this year, he's sort of got the groove back in national bangers, and I think he done pretty much all the Banger World Series rounds in fresh cars. I believe Jamie Pole was the only other driver to do that, but Jack wasn't afraid to bring out the rare bits of tin. I think he had a Mark III Granada limo at Birmingham. He brought out an old hearse at Arlington, and I think he had a Rolls Royce at Mildenhall as well. So those are just 3 examples. In terms of Dennis, Dennis is a great driver. He very rarely misses a meeting at Wharton or in Emmon, and he does a lot of the big meetings over here. I think I've seen him twice this year. I saw him at the Kings Lynn Unlimited East Anglian back in April, and he was superb that day. He got a big T-bone from 214 Connor Osborne and turned it round, come back into the pile-up and done the same thing to Connor. And he also brought out his 240 estate into the DD that night and took it home bent, bearing in mind that was a fresh car at the start of the night. And again, at the Ipswich World Final meeting, he had another Volvo, this time a rarer model. I think he is called Mr. Volvo, and hopefully we'll see plenty more of him next season.
Thank you very much, Jordan. So that's announced pretty much most of the categories. The rest are available on the Cage website, so please go and take a look. That's cagebangers.co.uk. And we'll, of course, be running the Rookie Awards coming up. So take a look. That'll be on the Cage Facebook page, and send your results in to Bryson Walker when that's announced. So Ed, back over to you.
Yeah, thanks for that, James. That pretty much brings this edition of Cage Full Throttle to an end. I would like, first of all, to wish all our listeners and supporters a very happy Christmas and a prosperous new year into a new decade. We've seen an awful lot of changes in the last decade to banger racing. What can we expect in the next 10 years? I'll just thank my two panelists also. Say thank you very much to James Keane and for all his work during the year and all the work in the background. Thank you, James.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be on the Cage podcast. I mean, well, it starts me talking about bangers to my girlfriend more than at least people listening actually do want to hear about bangers.
Well, it could be worse, James. You could launch a proposal over the airways, which is strictly banned.
Sarah.
Anyway, I think we've embarrassed James. So enough.
You can't say it. My cheeks are about the colour of my hair now, so I'm now all over orange and red.
Dear. Well, anyway, let's save him his blushes. Thanks again to Jordan Hollins. I know we take the piss out of him being the young one, but he's certainly a very mature panellist. He's a very mature correspondent, and hopefully, let's see what the next decade brings for Jordan. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you, Ed, and thank you, James, as well. It's been a pleasure doing the podcast with you two for the last year or few months. And as well, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's given me support this year, allowed me to write in meeting programmes. In Will Spin magazine, I've been doing the Cage column in there. So, if you've been reading Will Spin, thank you very much for that. And again, a massive, massive thank you to everyone for all the support. Hopefully 2020 will be back even better, even bigger as well. Have a very Merry Christmas and see you then.
Well, this is like the speeches section of a wedding, so I'll keep mine short and sweet. It's been a privilege all year taking up the mantle from our honorary leader, Mr. Matt Josie, who said he will be back. So I'm sure he's a man of his word. So hopefully he'll be taking the mantle for the next one. We haven't actually decided what we're going to do over Christmas. We're going to have a review of the year, or we're just going to go straight back into it in the new year. There's a lot going on in January and February. You have Icebreaker, Civil War, you have the Metal Classic, and we also have Motorsport with Attitude, which has kind of replaced Autosport as the short oval static show of the year. But there's plenty to look forward to. It's been a pleasure as always. I'll just say I'm Ed Fahey, and thanks for listening to Caged.